Okay. All right, girls. So we're being recorded, and welcome to those of you who just got on. So I just really want to open this up to questions and comments, and you will hear from any of the members of our team. Girls, just feel free to jump in and reply. So anybody have any questions?
Carolyn, can I say one thing about the bylaws and that the reason we're holding these meetings is because we only approve the bylaws based on the vote of the general membership of Women's League. It's not on a vote of the board or the executive committee. So we opened up these meetings to everyone in the general membership so that they could come on, ask their questions, and understand the changes to the bylaws, and then vote to approve them.
Yeah, and that meeting is going to be in June, and we're going to be sending out the information on that shortly.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
Hang on
Deb.
1 second, honey. I want to make sure I'm on mute.
You are now.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, Deb, it's a small group. If I'm fine with unmuting everybody.
I didn't mute everybody. Everybody's unmuted. I only muted.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know if you had done it there. So, yes, please just feel free, raise your hand or jump in, because this is for you to ask your questions or make your comments. I see Mimi and then Sarah. Thank you.
This is just a small technicality that I noticed. In 3 areas, it was marked that there should be a time frame before, let's say, there's a meeting of some sort, and the time frame was selected as being 15 days. It's an arbitrary figure. I just wondered why it wasn't 10, for example, in this time. There are so many meetings. This is just an aside. There are so many meetings going on all the time. I'm sometimes concerned if I get 2 weeks notice for something, it's gone. I mean, I just, I'm thinking that maybe a slightly shorter time frame. Everything goes out immediately anyway. It's not like you need the mail to catch up with you 7 days later. That's not the point. You get it as soon as it's sent out. So I'm thinking maybe a smaller time frame. I don't know if that would help or hinder. And I just thought I'd bring it up. That's all.
Okay.
Let me just, the 15 days is to give people an opportunity to clear their schedule, basically. If they feel it's important for them to attend. In all probability, Women's League will be sending out reminders about whatever meetings, because the dates for this stuff are pretty important. It's pretty important stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Mimi, we were trying to look at the calendar in terms of different holidays and make sure that we gave ourselves enough space with, and I don't mean secular holidays or Jewish holidays, to make sure that we gave everybody enough time if it fell during that time period too. So, but thank you for that comment. You said you had something else, Mimi? Did you two think?
I figured we were going to be going like paragraph by paragraph. There were just a couple of things that I made notes on. Mainly, as I was comparing the 2 documents, I just said a change, good idea, so, and that was just for me more than anything else. So.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Sarah, you had your hand up.
Yeah, my sister had just happened to have had a board meeting on Tuesday night, and I was running through some of these changes, and we're all a little confused about the change from sisterhood to affiliate. Could you talk about that a little and how it affects us?
Sure. No, I'm happy to share about that. So what happened, Sarah, and we actually made this change almost 2 years ago. And the reason that we made that change is because a number of our sisterhoods no longer call themselves sisterhood. For instance, my very own group calls themselves Women of Aliyah. And we found more and more of our sisterhoods were changing their name. And there's a number of different reasons why they're going through all of that. But we changed to use the word affiliate, or sometimes we'll say sisterhood affiliate, so that way we were being more inclusive to the different names that our different women's groups were using.
Thank you.
In addition, we wanted to be as inclusive as possible, regardless of what they call themselves, what their actual name is. They are all affiliates of Women's League. So this way, by not using sisterhood, it doesn't exclude anybody who has chosen another name.
And
Thank
we
you.
love all the names that you pick. Okay, Doreen.
Okay, so it's not basically with these bylaws, but what I'm noticing is that Women's League is every 3 years and Region is every 3 years. Sisterhoods are every 2 years. Is that confusing?
Sisterhood, I'm sorry, what are you saying?
Sisterhoods are usually 2-year terms.
Not necessarily. Our affiliates, some of them are for only 1 year. Their board positions change every year. Some are 2 years. It just depends. Because our affiliates are autonomous, they can choose to do what they want. But the regions have to follow Women's League policy because the regions are part of Women's League.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Question.
Eileen? Oh,
Sorry. I didn't see Eileen's hand go up until after I started talking, but what happens? Do the bylaws really affect anyone who becomes an individual member versus a member of an affiliate of WLCJ?
good question. In terms of for the Women's League bylaws, you're asking whether the Women's League bylaws affect anybody? It's just a question of needing to follow the same time period that Women's League follows. But in terms of being an individual member and how it's going to affect an individual member personally, no, there's not going to be a direct effect on you.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Jennifer. And okay, Eileen, you had your hand up?
Yeah, the 2 year for the 2024, how is that actually going to work? What's going to happen to people that are in the first year or the second year? Are they going to be finished after the 2 years and then start again?
Okay, so Deb, is that something that you would prefer to answer or you want me to answer?
Why don't you start and I'll finish?
Okay.
2 for
What a
1.
team, what a team.
It's
So-
called team.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So what we are doing is the current region that is finishing their first year, everybody on the current region boards, they're finishing their
Right.
first year. They are going to go on and complete their term of 3 years. So they're almost done, 1 more month for the first year, and then they're going to have their 2 more years. Then what's going to happen in 2024, all of the regions are going to have a one-time 2-year term. And the next region president, region tour fund vice president, whatever, everybody on the region board is going to have a 2-year term from 2024 to 2026. Then in 2026, we're going to go back to the regions having a 3-year term. Now, the reason that all of this was done and put into the bylaws was because we had a number of conversations with Debbie, our president, and as well as with the region presidents. Because when you become, and many of you know, because you've been in those positions, region president or region tour fund VP, et cetera, that you have a lot of training that's done in the beginning of your term. And what was happening was that the international president and the regions were on a different cycle. So some people in their positions were getting trained by one person in the position of Torah Fund VP or Torah Fund Chair or international president. And then 1 year later, they were getting trained by somebody else who now on the international level stepped into that position. And, you know, everyone has different styles and everyone likes to do things, you know, slightly different. And we found that it was a little challenging sometimes for some people to have to deal with, you know, working with two different groups. So by making this one-time change, where our regions will have a 2-year term next time, then we will have it set up so that the regions and Women's League will all be on the same calendar schedule, so that in 2026, whoever is going to be Women's League president at that point will start at fresh with her first year with the regions presidents, and at that time on 2026, and we'll all be working on the same calendar. Anything you want to add to that, Deb?
Yeah, so for all of you who've served on the board of directors, you know that there were different starting times and different ending times, and it was confusing about whether or not you were installed at your region conference or convention. And it had only gone this way the last two administrations before me. And the thought was that when we went from 4 years to 3 years, it was difficult for, you know, the new international president, the new international Torah Fund chair to be prepared at the same time of coming in to do the job, to train new people. So we assessed it, as we always do. We assess everything, and we surveyed, as Marilyn said, the region presidents, and we decided that it's really very confusing and that everyone should be on the same calendar. So that's why we made this change. And again, I'm scanning and I see most of you have served on the International Board of Directors, and you understand exactly what I'm saying, that some people came in at one time, some people came in the next time, and it was very confusing. So we're eliminating that confusion, and everyone, as Marilyn said, will be on the same cycle in the same year. Everybody starts together and everybody ends together.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good question, Eileen. Thanks for asking that. I think
No problem.
I think that's really probably one of the most important changes that we're making.
Yes.
I think there's another very important change that we're making as well, and that is, it's kind of tag teamed with that, is that our convention is no longer connected necessarily with installation or election. So that we're not bound by having convention and in July or in June. If maybe we used to have it in November. So, and then it was better for us to have it, for Women's League to have it in July. And so that happened, and it just so happened that we also started the new administration for the regions at that same time. But then we had to change Women's League's administration. And so what we've done is we've started everything with the fiscal year, which is July 1. So there might be a year when convention is in February or March. And the installation would not happen then. It would happen within that 60-day period, either before, I think it's 90-day period, either before or after, the 45 days, either before or after the fiscal year starts and ends. And I think that that's a freedom maker for us. There are many organizations that do not have their major convention include installation or election. The other thing it does is that when we have election, if you look at the timeline, election's pretty early. We used to have it right at convention, and installation would follow. If there is a contested election, there's no way that we can have any kind of a transition period before the start of an administration, which is that makes the incoming officer that is having actually a contested election, it makes that very difficult for them to prepare for the position, because they don't know if they're going to get it or not. So by having the election out quite a ways before the installation would occur, that gives whoever is elected an opportunity to really have a good transition. And one of the follow-ups that is planned is to have a transition guidelines so that as smooth as possible, transition will occur from one administration to the next.
And part of the reason, to piggyback on what Corey was just saying, is that, you know, in our setup, we do not have like an executive vice president, someone who that's a stepping stone to the presidency. We're not set up like that in Women's League. So we wanted to provide that longer transition time so that the people who are outgoing, and not just the president, but Torah Fund chair, membership, whoever, you know, happens to be on the international level, that they really have time to work with the incoming person and give them the opportunity to really know what's going on so that they can hit the ground running on July 1st. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Okay.
Something, we're talking about a quorum. If you're having a Zoom election, how do you make sure you have the percentage of regions and the percentage of people for your quorum? I just thought it was very interesting because it's so many regions and then so many percent. It was, sounded like it would be difficult to make sure.
Well, you know, you all have to register, just like you did for this particular workshop today. And so we would be able to check that out by looking at the registration, Eileen, to make sure that we had the required group of, you know, people.
Oh, registration is good, but I'm talking about actual people because there's always a percentage of people that don't bother showing up. That was more of what I was wondering.
It's true.
Eileen, we had that at convention where we needed a certain amount of regions and a certain amount of people from each region. And we had monitors who actually were following along on the Zoom, and we'll do that again.
Yeah.
There are lots of new rules and regulations because of going to Zoom, and Corey is our parliamentary expert on, you know, what's happening with Zoom and the changes that are made in Robert's Rules of Order based on Zoom. But for convention, we had monitors who were actually making sure that there were so many people from each region that were on.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work and it's a lot of organization, but we know what we need to do to make it available to everybody on Zoom.
Thank you.
Okay.
Doreen has her hand up.
Okay, so then if you weren't going to have convention during that May to August period, you're going to have, well, how would you do installation? Like by
Well,
Zoom?
You know, we did it last time that way.
I am.
I know, but you know, we had to. Is that a plan to go on like that?
Well,
No, there's no plan for anything. It's just we're just trying to cover our bases for
So-
the next event that happens in the world, like a pandemic.
Oh.
We're expecting to continue on with our July convention and installation and elections at the same time. But
no, elections are going to be earlier, but the
yeah,
installation.
well, I said elections at the same time and July installation. We're just trying to think of, you know, covering ourselves in case anything happens.
Okay.
And trying to simplify. I think that's the big thing. We're trying to really simplify things and make them so less complicated.
Mhm. A lot of this makes a lot more sense.
Okay, anybody else? Okay.
So Debbie's iPhone, I just would like to know who you are, what your last name is. I'm taking attendance.
Sorry, Debbie Lempert.
Oh,
I'm on my cell phone, sorry.
all right, Deb.
Yeah. Mhm. It's always a challenge with those kinds of identities on there, on the screen. Well,
I hope that you will all talk to your sisterhood members and encourage them to come and attend the meeting so that they can do their right of franchise.
Right.
It's,
Remind those, in your affiliates that it's not just the people on the board of your affiliates, but it's your whole membership that's entitled to be on those calls and to vote.
Terry?
Did you, wait, Ariane, do you have a question?
So how will all of the membership within the affiliates see the bylaws? What's the plan for them to review it before, a couple weeks from now?
Right. But once these caucuses are done, we will be sending out some emails that will have all the information about when the meeting is, giving them the same materials that you had to look at, so that they can look at it over too and be able to participate and ask any questions if they want. Excuse me.
And it's also gone out on Women's League Week for the last 2 weeks. So the members have had an opportunity to read the bylaws, the old ones and the proposed new ones. And as Marilyn said, once we've had the 2 caucuses, we will send that out as a standalone email to the 14,000 emails we have, and ask the region presidents to send them to the sister presidents, and ask the sister presidents to send them out to their members. And we'll ask everyone, the general membership, to get on to the meeting and vote to approve them.
Okay.
We'll do what we always do to get the message out.
Barbara?
Yes, I have it on my calendar that the Women's League meeting will be on June 15th at 10:30. Is this gonna be for everyone, or there'll be a
No.
separate meeting for this vote?
Yeah, that's the board meeting. And as of now, we're expecting to do it, an open meeting at night, so that everyone who works can also get on, works out of their home can get on. We can't say that anymore because people don't work out of their home, right? They work in their home now, but those who do other things besides Women's League. So we're gonna have a night meeting, and you'll be getting a notice of that. We're gonna put that into Women's League Week on Monday. But we wanted to have the caucuses first before we did that.
Thank you.
Yes. And that'll be an open meeting, a general meeting open to everybody. And the issue that will be discussed are the bylaws.
Right.
Issue is, not our issue is.
Right. And that's the only thing that meeting will be for, is just on the bylaws.
Correct.
Mm.
I had an open board meeting already in January this year.
Anybody else?
That's what the bylaws. I know I had it already in January.
Okay, well, I want to thank all of you for coming on the meeting today.
Thank you.
If you think of anything else that, when you read them over again, just send me an email, let me know. Be happy to go over any other additional questions that you have. And, we said, get the word out so we can have a whole lot of people coming on that meeting to actually vote for the new bylaws.
And thank you for spending a little bit of time with us this afternoon, and for bringing back the information to your sisterhood affiliates and your regions. We appreciate that.
Oh, wait, Lisa
Nice.
has a question or comment?
Actually, I have a comment. They're very well written. I wish the board I'm on and at our local Jewish Federation read like these. They're wonderful.
They can hire this team.
Right.
And make a donation to Women's League. Barbara Schaefer's going, no way.
No, both my husband's actually transitioning off our local, and I'm transitioning off as being a secretary officer to being back on the board for 1 more year, and I'm gone. We've been on this.
And then Lisa, you're going to come back to Women's League, right? Because you left us for a little while. You're going to come back.
Well, I'm a member at large for Metro North, so
I know.
I'm still
I know
on.
what you are. I know.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yeah. Okay, well, then, if there's no other questions, I hope that everybody has a wonderful rest of the day, and I look forward to seeing you at that meeting. If my team can just stay on for another minute, please. Okay,
Bye,
have a good rest of
everybody.
Hi,
the day.
everyone. Thank you for
Bye.
attending.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Marilyn.
everyone.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Okay, thanks for your help on that, Corey. So Susan, I saw your hand up before.
All right, I'm unmuted. I think everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can.
So what I wanted to tell you, since I have a smart device here as well as my laptop, the new Oxford American Dictionary online in the second meeting says the number for plurality, the number of votes cast for a candidate who receives more than any other but does not receive an absolute majority. I don't know if that was a definition that Corey needed to explain the use of it, versus the first meaning is the fact or state of being plural or a large number of people or things. So I just wanted to help out with the prior question that Rochelle Hurt asked about plurality.
So Susan, I want to thank you for that. And to be very honest with you, is what I said was that should that situation arise, that not only would we go to Roberts, we would also go to parliamentary authorities to help us identify what Roberts is talking about, if we
Okay.
need to.
All right.
But thank you. Great.
My question for clarity is, so after I signed up for this bylaws caucus session, there were the 3 attachments. So the second attachment, the second PDF, is the revised bylaws. So the second document is going to replace all prior versions of bylaws that will be in force from now, once this vote is completed, forward. And it was revised because Marilyn and your committee realized the degree to which certain terms had to be redefined to reflect our current realities,
So
as well as the technology piece.
Well, Susan, let me just tell you that right when I was starting the job, and Shelley was the parliamentarian under Margie, the previous administration, we were asked to revise the affiliate bylaws.
Correct.
Which we worked on at that time. And then once I actually took this position, Debbie asked us to keep going and working on the other bylaws. And so we revised the region bylaws, and then we were working on the Women's League bylaws. And as I said a little earlier, we realized that there were so many things that needed to be changed, and they had been revised many times since 2006, when the last new bylaws were presented and voted on, that we felt that these needed to be new bylaws also, no longer revised bylaws.
Okay, I just want to
And
make
just to-
sure that
I wanna-
everybody understands that. Debbie?
Yeah, I want to answer your question a little bit more. I want to go into a little bit depth. There were some things about the bylaws that I felt needed to be modernized, updated. And I went to Margie, who's my predecessor, Margie Miller. We talked about some things, and there was one specific issue that both of us weren't happy with, and we asked the committee to revise it. And from there, they looked at the entire set of bylaws. It was my intention when I became president to look at all of the bylaws from the sisterhood affiliate level, the region level, and the international level, and to bring them into, this time period. And using modern technology is part of what we needed to do, but there were other issues too. It wasn't just that, Susan. And I know Marilyn's going to get into that, because the question's going to come up about what the biggest one was for me.
Okay. Well, let's just jump right into it
Okay.
at this point, since we've opened that door. So one of the things that Debbie asked the committee to look at has to do with the region terms. And currently, the region terms, they are, everyone who was installed a year ago, they're finishing their first year, and they all have 2 more years to go. As you know, that on the international level, we are finishing our second year and have only 1 more year to go. And what happened then in the past several administrations was that people like region presidents, region Torah fund chairs and vice presidents, membership and other positions on the region level too, they would start working with one person. And then after a year, then they would have to start working with another person. And as we all know, everyone in leadership has different styles. They have different ways of doing things. And one of the things that Debbie asked us to really work on was seeing if we could smooth that out a little bit. So we had a few meetings with region presidents, and some of you on here tonight are region presidents, so you know that. And said, you know, what do you think? We'd like to straighten this out. Would you like to have this year's region terms end in 2 years? Would you like to finish and have your 3 years that you had signed up for? And the majority wanted to continue for the 3-year terms. So in order to then make it happen where we can put Women's League and the regions on the same time, what we did was we're going to have the regions finish out their 3-year terms. So all of the regions right now will finish their terms in 2024, in 2 more years. And then the next region terms, everyone will be in office for 2 years. There's a proviso in the bylaws that it's going to be a one-time 2-year term. And then after that, we will go back in 2026 to the 3-year terms. And at that point in 2026, both the region and the international board will be on the same times in terms of when they start and when they finish their terms. And one other thing too related to all that is that many of you might have at some point been appointed to the international board due to a position that you had in the region. And what happened was that there was a lot of confusion around those people who were appointed. I see Lori shaking her head, and no one knew, was I supposed to stand up at the region installation or do I sit down? Am I installed? Do I get installed with the board of directors? Was very confusing. So this is another thing that making this change that we're proposing will clear up. So any other questions or comments?
I think Phyllis is waving her hand now.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm thrilled that you're getting the regions and international boards in line. The timing with doing this in the middle of May to the end of May is, when are the regions going to hold their installation? Because since we've been doing summer conventions, we've asked regions not to do a big conference the same year as we're doing installations. And also a lot of them are the end of April, the beginning of May, depending upon when Pesach falls. Have you thought about when the regions are going to be able to do their installation? And how if they don't have a conference?
Right. Well, you know, we're offering a lot of flexibility, and that's really going to be the key. It's going to be flexible in terms of then regions will be getting installed the same year as conventions starting in 2026. And so, you know, the regions will be able to hold an installation. It can be something done separately. It doesn't have to be with this conference. We've always, Women's League has always encouraged regions in a convention year to not have something, a major conference and involving like a lot of money so that way we can still have people who would like to go to convention can still afford to do that and do both. So I think it's just a question of flexibility and it's something new, Phyllis. So it's probably going to involve, I would think, a little bit of experimenting on part of regions. And I would like to think that, you know, that's something that we can work on too from Women's League's end in terms of giving the regions some guidance on, here's some suggestions on what you can do this year. You know, and like at the next year, like I think it's going to be a convention installation year. I was on my region conference recap committee meeting. And, you know, I reminded them, I said, you know, next year is going to be a convention installation year. So we need to do something a little bit earlier and maybe a little bit more low key. And I think it's getting the word out to everybody about that.
Okay, I had one other question, just if you had considered it, the region elected delegates to the international board. It's still in the new bylaws, 1 for every 8 sisterhoods. So the number of affiliates have decreased and it's been 1 for 8 for as long as years. Have you considered, you know, moving that 8 down to a lower number so that regions could have more representation, or keep the same 2 or 3 people that most of them have?
Debbie?
Yeah, I want to answer that. So,
I figured.
so yeah. So no, Phyllis, we have not considered lowering the number per affiliate, but what I did do in my administration, and Margie also did this, was I added, according to the bylaws that Corey told me, I could add up to 35 people that I could add without a portfolio. And I have to say that I've added about 10 to 15 new portfolios and about 10 people without a portfolio. So we've increased the size of the board, but not through members according to how many affiliates we have, but we've definitely increased the size of the board, and from all over, from every region. There's greater representation. Margie added about 10 or 15 people, and I've added about 25 people. So we've increased the size of the board, but not through
giving the regions a
Right.
chance to pick those people though. Okay.
So there's 2 ways, I guess, 2 ways. To skin it.
Okay. Thanks, Phyllis. Any other questions or comments about the bylaws? Hillary?
Good evening, thank you. I'd like to go back just to Article 1, Section 2. I just wanted to clarify what I'm understanding under Section 2 membership. You've even changed it from women to those who identify as women, that we are moving forward in this new era, and that if a man identifies as a woman or even has a sex change as a woman, we are accepting. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. Anyone identifying as a woman, we're trying very hard to be as inclusive as we should be in this time period.
Well, thank you. I think that's awesome.
Actually, that's not new. We've been doing that about a year. We brought that to the board and made that change about a year ago.
That was in the region bylaws. We did it in the region bylaws, but this is the first time for the Women's League bylaws. Yeah,
I think that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Marcia?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand the dates in my mind so I have it straight, because over the years, and I go back real far, not quite as far as Corey, but I go back way back to the 70s. Okay, so we're there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute, Marcia. I only go back to the 70s,
Right. All right. I mean, I was region president in 1990, so that gives you a frame of reference. I was branch president, excuse me. All right. So the current region presidents are going to serve from 2021 to 2024. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay,
good.
and then 2024 to 2026 will be the next group.
Yes, correct. It'll be a 2-year term for them.
Okay, and Women's League is going to be 20 to 23, and that, which is the current, and then 23 to 26. And in
Right.
26, everybody's going to be caught up with each other.
Correct.
You got it, Marcia.
I just had to write it down and make see if it
Marcia,
works.
can you repeat that actually for everybody else, because you got it you got it so well. Would you mind repeating it?
Okay, the
Okay.
current region terms, region terms, not president, but the term of the region officers are going to be 2021 to 2024, which is the current group of region officers serving now. The next group will be elected in 2024 and serve to 2026.
Right.
And that'll be May, June of 2026, or whenever that time frame actually is. Women's League, the current region Women's League, the current Women's League officers and board are serving from 2020 to 2023.
Right.
Followed by a new group which will serve from 2023 to 2026. And in 2026, everybody's going to be on the same page.
Right.
Right. It sounds good.
Excellent.
And when they're on the same page, that'll go back to a 3-year term.
That'll go back to a 3-year term.
Right.
Well, the Women's League will continue its same 3-year term. It's only the regions that will then go back to a 2-year.
Correct.
3-year term.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you
Now,
for that. It made it
just
very
as an
easy.
aside on a comment,
Yeah.
we have always, over the years, I guess it just got, I agree completely with Marilyn that nobody ever knew where they were supposed to stand up, sit down, whether they were coming in, going out. I mean, it was sad, it was a joke, nobody knew. So, but we were moving beyond that. But the presidents and the officers, myself included, and a lot of people on this Zoom call, have always had the opportunity and the experiences of serving with multiple vice presidents, multiple Women's League presidents, chairman, office, whatever it might be. We've served with multiple people, and I don't think we ever really had a problem.
So let me just clarify that. Only in the last 2 administrations did it happen that Margie worked with the group of region presidents for 2 years, and then I came in and worked with them for 1 year.
Right.
And then after 1 year, I got a new group of region presidents for 2 years, and the person who comes after me will have them for 1 year. It's only been in these 2 administrations that that's happened, and it hasn't worked. Margie and I discussed it. We discussed it with the region presidents. We've all come to the decision that it doesn't work.
Okay, I mean, because the reason behind it, the rationale behind it as to why it was changed, so that the president, the Women's League officers would have an opportunity to get used to their jobs and used to their positions before they needed to work with a new group of people and train a new group of people, et cetera, et cetera. But if it really isn't working the way it was designed to be working, then the proper answer was to change it.
Right. And so what I said this afternoon, I want to say it again, is that we are always assessing what we do and trying to determine if it works. And if it doesn't work, we change it. And this did not work for my administration and Margie's. So we asked to make a change, and we think it's a good one for the organization, and it works well. And that's why we're introducing it, and we're asking the general membership to trust us and to vote to approve that.
And Marcia, I understand what you're talking about, in terms of the training. And that was why when we sat and we came up with a timeline, we worked backwards, saying how much time do you need for all these different things to happen with an election, and presenting a slate. And what we said is, if we have an election in February, mid-February, then that gives the outgoing officers and the incoming officers approximately 4 months to work together.
I
So
think
that-
that part of it is excellent, Marilyn. I think that's,
Okay.
I think that has always been, as someone who's been on the Women's League Board for a long time in many, many positions, you get the call, will you serve as X? But then you don't really get your job until convention.
Right.
Maybe you have one conversation with your predecessor, but you're really not working in an organized, coordinated manner for transition. And I think putting in this, maybe the presidents do, but I don't know if anybody else does. And I don't even know how well the presidents do. So that's above my pay grade. But I think the transitioning time is really a good idea. I'm very much in favor of that.
Yeah, and that will also give the people on the region level the time that they need to get used to how, who they're going to be working with and how it's going to work. So thank you. We think that should help everybody within the organization. Any other questions, comments? Phyllis.
In Article 6, Section 3, paragraph B, it talks about the election and the terms and being able to serve as an elected director and then being able to be an officer or an appointed director. But then the last sentence says, after a lapse of 1 year, elected members at large shall be eligible to serve again as an elected director. I'm not sure I understand what that means. I mean, we don't, but after a lapse of 1 year, after what?
Sorry.
Yeah, so what it means
I'm
is
sorry, go
that,
on. Go on.
oh, go ahead, Marilyn.
No, go on, Corey. Go on. I've been thinking enough. Yeah, go on.
What it means is that when the term ends, you've reached term limits and you can serve again in that same position, but only after a year.
But it would be 3 years before that position.
Not necessarily. Sometimes, and we've probably all seen it in our sisterhoods and our congregations, where someone has resigned and after a year or two, and they're looking for somebody who's got some experience, and they say, oh, you served before, would you serve again? And as long as there's a year that's lapsed, you can accept that position, or whomever can accept that position.
It says, it starts out with regardless of the number of consecutive terms any person shall have served. So it's sort of like, what's the term limit?
There is a term limit. There is a term limit of 2 terms. And but if you want to, if you're asked to serve again in that same position, then you must have not served for at least a year. And at least that gives an opportunity to rotate the leadership, because that's very important. But it also accommodates the needs of the organization to get experienced leadership in there when they have to.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? I know it's a lot to read. I can't begin to tell you how many hours we put in on it. At least, Corey, at least. Michelle?
You just mentioned the number of hours. My comment was going to be to commend all of you, because this is a monumental undertaking. We did it in our region, and it took weeks and weeks and weeks of meeting together. So I can just imagine what you did on the international level. So I thank all of you for all the hard work that you put into this.
Oh, and they're not done yet. I have another job for them.
Yeah, but I have to tell you, it's been really fun. Right, Shelley? Right, Barbara?
Definitely.
It has been really fun. This group has really bonded. It's been fantastic.
See, for all of you who are looking for something to do, The job of parliamentarian offers so much, you know, investment into learning so many new skills. So I know, Robin Talley, where are you? We had a parliamentarian on this afternoon and she came back again because she wanted to learn. So it's nice to have you with us again, Robin. Okay. First I want to say, Marcia, thank you so much for that very abridged description of the timing. That was great the way you did that. And I appreciate that. I actually wrote it down. I hadn't thought about it in those terms. So thank you. See what happens when you serve a long time, Marcia? Again, I want to thank Marilyn and the committee, Corey Schneider, Barbara Safer, and Shelley Swabanison for the hard work that they've done. They really did a fabulous job, and it did take many, many, many hours. And we're just, Women's League is very appreciative of the fact that we have wonderful volunteers like this who've done a humongous project. The most important thing is that, as Marilyn said at the very beginning, these bylaws are approved by the general membership and not the exec committee, not the board, but the general membership votes on these bylaws. So it's very important that you all go back to your sisterhood affiliates and your regions and you explain what you've learned tonight and encourage them to get on the meeting and vote to approve these bylaws. Because as Marilyn also said, they haven't been updated and changed since 2000 and what did you say? Six. So it's very important that we update and we keep improving ourselves as an organization by doing an update to our bylaws. Marilyn, did you want to say anything before we end? Corey, Barbara, Shelley, anybody?
Just make sure, like Debbie said, that you go back to all your affiliates and encourage them to participate. And this is their opportunity. I think Mona has a question.
Yeah, I apologize, Marilyn, and those who have worked so hard on coming up with these bylaws, that if it's in there, I apologize. But in light of going back to our regions and our sisterhoods and so forth, and asking them to vote, does a certain percentage have to vote one way or another on this? Or is it more just like an open, this is the voting period and whatever votes are cast during that time?
Corey knows the answer.
Yeah. So there's a quorum.
Okay.
That has to be attending the meeting and voting. And of that quorum, and I'm going to get the quorum.
I just was looking for it.
I'm going to look for it. Hold on. Whatever the quorum is, because I don't want to take your time. The quorum is 10% of the quoting, 10% of the voting delegates representing at least 1/3 of the regions. So if we have 500 people, let's be optimistic. If we have 500 people registered and attending this meeting I think the date is going to be the June 15th or someplace around there. If we have 500 people, then at least 50 of those people must vote and have to represent at least 1/3 of the region. So it's got to be at least pretty much 5, even though a 5 of the regions. And in order to have new bylaws voted in, it's got to be 2/3. So if, let's say for easy math, we have 60 people who are there and voting, and we have 500 people there and only 60 people decide to vote, it's got to pass by at least 40 for new bylaws. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
But we hope that everyone who gets on the Zoom will vote one way or another.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a math person. I need to.
And it goes by those people who are present. So even though realistically, we don't expect the majority of our membership to be there, it's going by those people who are present for the meeting.
That's part of the reason of my question. Okay, thank you.
And voting. and
Yeah.
voting, even if we have
Yeah,
1,000
voting,
people.
right, yeah.
If only 100 people vote, it's still got to be passed by 67.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Geraldine. You're muted, Geraldine.
You couldn't hear me? I was saying,
Yeah.
do we have a time yet for the 15th? And
It's
can we
at
get a
night.
time?
It's at night. The reason we're gonna do it at night is because we want the people on the West Coast who might be out during the day working, that we want them to be able to participate. So we're not sure yet. It'll be in next week's Women's League Week.
Okay,
And
because I
we'll
want to
send
push
a-
this to get people here, but I need, yeah, next week you'll tell me. Okay, fine,
Mhm,
thank
I
you.
will, promise.
And again, I must encourage all of you to encourage your, the members of your affiliate, of your women's group, to attend and vote. I mean, they're members of Women's League and they have as much franchise as each one of us. I'm one vote, you're one vote, and they're one vote. So it's really important. And it would be really great if we got a lot of people there to vote.
I see some more hands. Marjorie Furman's hand is up.
And Lori Snow, yeah.
Okay, Marjorie.
Thank you. Are we allowing proxy voting for this at all?
I'm sorry to hear, we allowed what?
Proxy voting.
Proxy voting, no, you have to be present.
Okay, so there's not going to be any send in your vote before if you can't possibly make this meeting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and
Lori?
Lori, you had a question?
Well, actually, that was my question too, because originally I had on my calendar, it was 10:30 in the morning and I have another meeting at night, so.
No, we have a board meeting that day.
Oh, so this is besides the board meeting? It's not
Yes, it's
happening
a
at the
special
board
meeting just for this one issue.
Ah, okay.
Yes, all that information explaining it all will be coming out. You know, we just were waiting to have these two caucuses that we had today.
Right.
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Marjorie, you have another question?
Comment, not a question. Those of us who take, like from Seaboard Region, take the train up for these meetings, unless this meeting is going to be like 10 o'clock at night for the East Coast,
No,
we won't be
it's a
home from the
Zoom.
board meeting.
It's
our board meeting is going to be on Zoom.
it's
Oh,
not in person.
okay. Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, we have not had an in-person Board of Directors meeting yet. We
I
may
know, but
start-
I thought
we may
might.
start in the next year, but as of now, our Board of Directors meeting on June 15th will still be on Zoom.
Thank you. That makes it a
So-
lot easier for those of us
Yeah.
who will be voting on the train.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish we could do an in-person meeting, believe me.
Susan has her hand raised.
Yeah. Hi, Susan.
Thanks, Corey. Yes.
I guess I'm one of the few individual members here. So I presume the individual members will be equally expected to vote.
Absolutely.
And okay, so everybody's expected to pay attention to the Women's League Week, where there will be an announcement next week as to the timing on June 15th.
Yes.
My dilemma is that you said it's June 15th in the evening. Okay, I'll be out of town still, like I am now. And I already have another Jewish board meeting, not for this organization, but something completely different that I do that same evening. So, and Marjorie asked if there would be voting by proxy, which is not possible. So it's just the way it is. You won't be able to hear from me, but I'm fine with this change. I think this makes sense.
Susan,
So,
maybe
yeah.
at some point during the evening, you could call in. If you can't get to a Zoom, you could call in and we would accept your vote on telephone. Is that right, Corey? We'll accept telephone votes?
I think there needs to be some discussion about exactly how that's going to happen.
But the
Yeah,
other thing
because-
I wanted to mention, Susan, I don't know about the timing of your other meeting. We're hoping that this meeting is going to be very short and sweet. Because, you know, so again, maybe you might be able to make it, you know,
My meeting's a 7 to 9 p.m. meeting.
Okay, Well, we've had,
Oh.
these two caucuses. We've been out in Women's League Week. I mean, so
So,
we're hoping
I'm-
that what's gonna happen is people were gonna get on and be able to, simply present the motion to pass the bylaws. And then we're gonna be voting on it. Maybe if there, someone else who's another individual member, or maybe they can text you right before the vote. And then, as long as you're registered, then you could get on from that other meeting for just 5 minutes, come and join us and be there for the vote.
Okay, I'll see what I can figure out.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that all.
And Susan, I'll help you with that. Okay,
Okay.
and it's a good point about being an individual member. Our individual members have the rights and responsibilities as any other member. And you certainly are expected to vote when it comes to making changes in the organization and updating. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Marjorie, another question?
I was just gonna say to Susan, if she sends me her email, her phone number, I would be happy to text her.
There you go.
She's not in my region, but I don't care.
Okay.
Oh, very nice.
So Susan, if you want to send it to me, I'll shoot you a text since it's on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, I
to
just
worry.
make sure, everybody, you can't vote unless you register.
Right.
It's a really interesting thing that's happening with these multi-access meetings. And the American Institute of Parliamentarians, who we've been using as a resource, has studied the issue of voting in this new world that we're living in. And they have determined that the only way at this point that technology is effective and is advanced enough is to vote one way. So it can't be in person and electronically. So we're going to ask everybody to register, and then we will be able to take their vote.
We're going to try to be as inclusive as possible.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody? Okay, I want to thank everybody. And I see a lot of people that came back a second time. Sandy Carlton, I think you were with us this afternoon also, right? You must be doing something right, friends. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
And can the team please stay on?
Yeah, early Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, and nice to see you. And Hillary, you won't see me tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.